Ralf Thomas is next, and I ask him up here.
Sure, thank you.
Ralf, great pleasure.
My pleasure.
I am a little bit scared because I heard that you're a fistballer.
Yeah, that feels like 100 years.
But you don't play it. Excellent,
No.
so I'm not scared anymore. You've also been called the steady hand of Siemens. And you studied, I think, economics and business, and then early on, after your doctorate, went to Siemens. You've been there for more than 30 years?
20.
20?
More than 20.
More than 20?
But close to.
Okay. And I was wondering, if you look at this icon of German industry, what was it then, some 25 years ago or so? And what is it now?
Now, actually, when I joined, that was in 95. Yeah, that was in 95, so it's close to 30 years. That's true. Yeah, I had little excursions in between, but okay. I mean, at the end of the day, I believe there's 3 major criteria that make a difference between the Siemens of back then and now. Back then, we had 15 different lines of business, you would call that, divisions, that were as diverse as semiconductors to high-speed train. We still have high-speed trains, but we don't have semiconductors anymore. So we're more focused, and I also dare to say we are more agile now. Agility, you discussed that before. I don't want to go back to all that what has been said before, but agility is not about being faster in the beginning, but arriving earlier than others. And therefore, I think the entire discussion around what needs to be changed is easily spelled, but it's not that easily done from a position of strength. Because many of our peers also had the opportunity, as Siemens had, for example, in the telecoms, to experience what it feels like when you literally fall over a cliff. I mean, back then, telecoms were in the hands of Siemens, more than 70% of the world market, and it took us less than a decade to make ourselves completely obsolete by missing one paradigm shift in technology only, and that was the importance of the internet protocol for telephones.
Our long-time publisher was Helmut Schmidt, the former Chancellor of Germany, who many, me included, would wish back at the helm of the Chancellery these days. But in any case, he used to say that Siemens is more like a bank with some electronics business added on, because you shift your productions and your focus. Parts get sold, other parts get bought, IPOs. What do you answer people? I mean, it wasn't just Helmut Schmidt. What do you answer people who, I'm not even sure it's a criticism, sometimes it's also out of admiration, but who say that about you?
I mean, back then, the pension trust was completely embedded into the operations from a cash availability point of view, so many things have been changing since then. But I dare to say, with a free cash flow of 10 billion one year after the other from operations, we are no longer depending on the financial assets only. What it actually meant, I believe, is that we are turning a lot of dollars or euros and don't make money with that back then. And I think that picture has been changing substantially. I mean, be it from a portfolio perspective, I think we may say that we are shaping our portfolio proactively, be it from a relevance point of view. I mean, making a company like Siemens at least slowly but steadily looking like a digital and software-based enterprise. That's quite a change journey. And back then, it felt, at least, that's what people tell me, it is safe hands if you have an interest income instead of just being in risky businesses and finally ending up with 0 market share.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is very noisy around here. I'm sorry. I hope you can all hear us still. We're doing our best. So stay with us. There's going to be food afterwards, but only to those who keep listening. I guess the question behind all this is, what is Siemens about? And I don't think there's anybody better to define this than you.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a few ones better than myself, especially our CEO, Roland Busch. I'm mentioning that because he's really driving the pace of change. And as I said before, from a position of strength, change is by far more challenging than sitting on a burning platform with a desperate need for change. What is Siemens out for? I think we are at the moment in a really sweet spot of the market developments. We have been building our portfolio around electrification, automation, digitalization, and sustainability. And even though I have to admit, I feel a bit of lack of discussion on ESG matters also throughout the last 24 hours. I'm sure whether or not presidents may like that, it will come back. And if we miss that bus, we may pay twice. So we are out to combine the dots in these three areas of electrification, digitalization, and automation with the purpose to serve sustainability, or let me translate it in a different way, make the best possible use of scarce resources. And this is what we owe the generations to come. Therefore, you may call it the race for productivity, or you may call it the race for ESG. It doesn't matter to me. It's about making sure that you get the best out of something. And if I may, just focusing on that again, in the past, Siemens was maybe more about input. Yeah, you can easily spend billions of R&D without moving.
And now your output.
And now we are more output-faced. And one of the key ingredients is pace. That has been mentioned a couple of times. But in digital business models, it's not only about pace, it's also about scalability. Therefore, you need to address markets that grow rapidly and allow also from a regulatory framework that new ideas are scalable and getting standards in place. At the end of the day, it's about setting standards instead of trying to follow fast.
And yet, Ralf, Siemens keeps being under pressure from investors of selling more quicker. Healthineers and whatnot. How do you react to these people? Are they ungrateful or are they right?
No, I mean...
In a financial sense?
From a financial sense, I dare to say that you need to make sure that you do understand the intent of those voices, and we listen to them carefully. Many of them are owners of the company, and we have a lot of respect for them. But all owners of the company also have a wish that we combine the desirable with the doable and do it at a meaningful point in time. I think after taking out 5 great businesses in a PE style, as we call that, not fire selling them, but shaping them into a format that is worth now more than 7.5 billion, starting more or less from...
I think you call it educating them to be self-dependent.
Yeah, kind of. And I mean, all that has been, I hope, contributing and has been building trust and credibility. And therefore, at the moment, it feels like the market understands that we are moving with the right pace to achieve ambitious targets. And that will not take away the pressure, and the pressure is part of the premium that we need to earn.
Right. Digital revenue in your company is only 12%.
Yep.
But you aim to be regarded as a digital company. Why so little?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think we need to look back in 2008-09, when we started to embark on the digital journey and started to acquire industrial software companies, which we did, meanwhile, more than 35, grand total, more than 15 billion. And combine that with the domain know-how of the product industries we have been in. I think that was quite a change journey, and it took some time also to learn, and some of the lessons were painful and expensive, I have to admit that. But now we more and more do understand that combining the real and the digital world is bringing the biggest part of the value to our customer base, and many of them appreciate that, in particular when it comes to sustainability matters, because changing from A to B in that field isn't that easy to be done, and there being trustworthy makes a big difference to customers. And on top of all that, what I said, making 12% is not the end, obviously, and we are inspired to do more. You may have heard that we intend to acquire and will close an acquisition worth 10 billion US dollars, Altair, and we are moving more and more into that space. And what we do see is also that the business models are changing with that. And turning a company of 325,000 individuals on our payroll around the globe makes sense to think about the next step before you start running, but still pace is of the essence. And We have a very ambitious leadership team, and I'm quite confident that we are going to make it. And doubling, that's what I said in an interview just lately, is the minimum that we aspire to be seen as a reasonable player in that field. But even though, last sentence, even though 12% doesn't seem to be a lot, 12% translates still into one of the biggest fleet of software engineers around the globe. We belong to the top 10 employers when it comes to software engineering. I think that's putting things into a different perspective.
You're paying 10 billion for Altair. Do you think there is the necessity of buying more and even more expensive?
Yeah, I could easily say I wish, because there's a regulatory framework and we need to adhere and anticipate everything that is doable in that field. I think the opportunity, the universe of opportunities isn't that big in that specific place, but we also do see adjacent fields, and enlarging the business model into different directions, I think that's quite a meaningful thing to do these days.
Now, we've talked about what Siemens was then and what Siemens is now. What is Germany now and what was it then?
Yeah, maybe that what applies to companies is also applicable to economies as such. I think Germany used to be a role model of coming back from scratch, more or less, doing the impossible, getting growth momentum done. Then Germany has been benefiting a lot from globalization, first stage. I think export-oriented industries have been prospering a lot, and now it's about making sure that we are a relevant player as Germany or as Europe in the next step, next sigma curve of technology. And therefore, even though you rightfully said, let's not talk again about artificial intelligence, I think artificial intelligence in the industrial space is maybe the game changer also for corporate Germany and the industries there, if not for Europe. If we miss out capitalizing on that opportunity, it will be hard to come back and will take time. So we need to be assertive, we need to be focused. That's also applicable for Germany, I believe. And what we also need to do is we need to get a mindset in place that is execution-oriented. And as Helen rightfully said, we are making big plans, have the best concepts, and then it takes 3 years to implement. And in those 3 years, others are bypassing us, are taking over the lead. And once you lose the lead in newly developing markets, you lose the capacity to set standards. And if you miss out on standards, the entire invention does never translate into a meaningful innovation that is showing up in the marketplace.
People in our country don't necessarily want Trump, but they more and more seem to want something like, a new type of politics, a new type of government, and a new start. Do we need politicians that we don't have? Do we need rich entrepreneurs, German billionaires in Berlin? How do we translate this into something that might work?
First of all, my personal view is that Germany and also Europe has many, many ingredients that are critical success factors. It's about being assertive, finding the right pace, and not trying to polish the asymptotes on the curves. That takes a lot of energy and doesn't take you anywhere. I don't think that we need great advice from billionaires and alike, but what I believe, it takes a paradigm shift in thinking and also in mindset. Can't translate that into English, but the term auf den Weg gebracht. We brought something on the way. It's a great first step. But there's a tendency in politics to believe then the job is done. And I believe then the job begins. And that may hopefully change under new leadership. Does it take completely different individuals? Maybe a bit of new ingredients also into Berlin and Brussels would be helpful to change the mindsets. But I don't think it's a question of capacity or existing individuals that may contribute. It's more about changing perspectives in the meaning of being output-oriented instead of effort-oriented. What you put into something is meaningful and hopefully pays back, But the final yardstick is competitiveness and output, and I think Berlin can improve on that matters.
As a CFO, last question, you are, of course, prone to risk assessing. What do you think in all this is the biggest risk that Germany runs?
Taking too long to form a new government.
All right, we're going to tell that to Friedrich Merz tonight.
I did.
And then Excellent. Well, thank you so much. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.